do we know? And this probably isn't the end of it, is it?
No, I mean, ultimately it looks more like Evergrande has sort of once again made this 11th hour payment and averted an official default. And that ultimately gives them a little bit more room to negotiate. So without an official default, creditors aren't, for example, able to petition and file for bankruptcy. However, of course, Evergrande does still continue to have quite a few coupons due through the rest of this year. And then again, next year in March, it has this really hefty $2 billion bond coming due.
How significant a news is this, coupled with the fact that we are hearing that authorities may be loosening those regulations on credit access for developers?
Absolutely. I don't think it's just Evergrande creditors breathing a bit of a sigh of relief this morning. It does look like we are starting to see the sort of final or first signs of easing, tentative policy easing for property developers. So bonds yesterday, China high yield bonds saw their biggest jump in quite some time after news that there may be sort of a loosening of interbank bond sales, and there was also speculation that there may be more flexibility around M&A, and that sort of companies that are acquiring more distressed developers would not necessarily take their debt onto their balance sheet, which can be a massive deterrent when it comes to sort of that type of acquisition activity. So these are two things that really would sort of ease the property sector. It also looks like bank lending data to developers also is a bit better in October. So all round, you know, it's definitely some chatter that we may now have been seeing a bottom and that from here things do get a little easier. I think it is still really important to mention, though, that even with all these kind of small signs of some loosening or some easing, this is really not a kind of wholesale reprieve for the sector. It's ultimately about helping those really big firms, those really strong firms survive and perhaps take advantage of some of the weakness across other firms. But ultimately, for smaller, weaker developers, the pressure really still is on.